And we are back here at 8:07 a.m. And as promised, in the house, the president of Texas Tech University, Dr. Lawrence Schovanec. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
We've had a very, very robust conversation here with Councilman Christian.
Well, I'll try to bring it down a notch.
Yeah, we'll take it down a notch.
So let's all take a deep breath and...
Well,
where have you been?
Well, I for the last 30 minutes, I've been trying to get from 19th Street out here. The traffic was unbelievable.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot of black ice around this morning and a really bad traffic situation somewhere on the South Loop. The traffic's all being diverted over on Indiana. And I'm sure if you listen to Estrada, he probably told you that during the news this morning. But, yeah, traffic is a mess this morning. But you have been... away from Lubbock for a while.
Well, I've been traveling quite a bit. Yesterday, I was in Dallas. I had a business at University of Texas at Arlington. I need to tell you what happened there that I thought was kind of neat. I was getting ready to leave, and I asked a student where I could go pick up an Uber. And this student said, well, let me just take you outside and show you where you can get a ride. And as he walked me out of the door, I said, we have really wonderful students at Texas Tech, and I'm always bragging about just how helpful and nice they are. But I guess they have nice students here, too. And he said, well, I graduated from Texas Tech.
Well, there you go. There you go.
And he was from Abilene.
That's the way it works. We do have the nicest people here.
We do. And the week before, we had our regular meeting of the Big 12 Board of Directors. And, there are several issues that are in the national spotlight right now, name, image, and likeness, and that was a big part of our discussion. Some possible revisions in the championship football playoffs, maybe expanding that to additional teams. Hopefully I think there's a good chance that every Power 5 would have a guaranteed berth in that. And then I think the week before, I was on the campus at Yale for a meeting, and that was actually kind of an interesting experience, too. I was walking into the building where we're having the meeting, and Ted Mitchell, not our Ted Mitchell, but Ted Mitchell, who's the president of the American Council of Education, came up to me and said, hey, congratulations. And I thought, I said, you're referring to the basketball championship game? He says, no. I said, winning the national championship in track? He goes, no, I was referring to all the attention Texas Tech is getting for its international initiatives, campus in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
We got, and I thought, I felt ashamed of myself.
Well, usually it's about sports, isn't it?
But he could have cared less.
Yeah.
And then from there I went to San Jose, had a chance to meet with Jeff Weiner, who is I was part of a meeting with other people as well with LinkedIn. We're going to try to expand our connection to LinkedIn to provide a larger network for our students as they look for jobs, to bring more of our alumni who have employment possibilities for our students. And so that's something we'll be working on.
Well, so do y'all still have the connection with Microsoft right now? I know that y'all did at one point.
We have an extensive licensing agreement, so everybody has, the suite of Microsoft products that's been around for a long time.
I was going to say, what about Disney? I know that y'all had at one point at least had a connection with Disney as well.
Well, Matt, actually, I don't know exactly what we're doing with Disney, but Disney affects us in the following way. Through ESPN. So as people know, we are going to be broadcasting our third-tier rights through ESPN Plus. We're doing that now. Next year we'll be fully a part of that agreement. Oklahoma and Texas are not, but in due course they may move into that. And this was discussed at the Board of Directors meeting that the subscriptions to ESPN Plus have vastly exceeded their projections. It's been very successful. At the same time, I have heard from alumni and fans who are not satisfied with, completely satisfied. A lot of buffering goes on. And just yesterday, or earlier this week, I met with Kirby and Tony Hernandez, and we're going to be preparing like a one-page statement that addresses some of those complications. And the commissioner did say that they are looking at revising, upgrading the technology to try to address that. But they also mentioned that ESPN is in a good situation right now because Disney is doing so well with the Disney Network. Fox, on the other hand, is still embedded in linear programming, cable, and their situation is not as positive.
We did want to talk about something that, is a great concern to me. I've read quite a bit about it, and that's student debt. And, that's one thing that concerns us all. I mean, we're hearing reports of having, 1.3 or $1.4 trillion
Yeah, I think it's 1.6
in student debt. And there are some that's far beyond my pay level that talk about how catastrophic, maybe that's a too harsh a word, that this could be. But what can we do about it? Is it being addressed?
So, Dave, the things that make the headlines are those exceptional stories where somebody graduates with $100,000, $200,000. That's not the norm. And I just happen to have a piece of paper in front of me regarding a report that the Director of Financial Aid gave me in terms of what we're doing at Tech. So, I'll get back to the debt more directly, but at Texas Tech, 58% of all students will get some grant or scholarship. That's not counting loans. If you include the loans they receive, then 71% of our students get some financial aid, and that's about $13,000. Scholarships and grants is closer to what they have here, $7,500, which is still quite significant. Now, the issue of debt is a problem, and I'm going to be going out to West Texas high schools in the coming weeks, visiting those schools, and this is something I will be talking about. You need to avail yourself of all of the scholarship money. We need to do a better job of providing students with some financial literacy. And we do have a program right now, and we're going to expand that. Don't take out every loan that's available for you. But also there's kind of a mixed message of what debt really means. If you go to the United States Department of Education College Scorecard, it will say that the average student at Tech has $21,000 in debt when they graduate. Because what they're looking at is those that have none and those who have about $30,000, which is close to what most students at Tech have. They're also not counting parent loans. A lot of students will take out loans for living expenses as opposed to the cost of education. And we know this from talking to them. They'll be purchasing things that don't really relate to education. And some of those loans are involve the money that goes to the family, and that sort of inflates the money that's borrowed to pay for education. So
because they're low interest rate. And a lot of families see that and they're like, well, if I get a parent loan through them, I can have a low interest rate loan. I can buy the car on that versus a car payment or a car loan that might have been higher interest rate or, whatever. And you're right. It may be something that has nothing to do with education.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And so I think we have to do a better job of educating students that don't take every loan that's available to you. Another thing we have to do is make sure they graduate in a more timely fashion.
Yeah.
If there's a big difference between those who graduate in 4 years, 5 years, and 6 years, how much debt
there's
they have.
one thing, there seems to be a lot of kids getting a degree in something that simply will not afford them to pay back a big loan. Is that being addressed?
So you might be referring to the perception that if you get a degree in a liberal art area, you're not going to make as much money as somebody in business or engineering. But there are studies that show initially there is an advantage to those in the STEM fields. But over time, somebody who has a liberal arts education tends to do almost as well. Because what kind of skills do you get there? Communication, critical thinking, collaboration. Sure. Those are the things that are transferable, and people change jobs
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah. It's 8:17, quick break, and we will be right back with more with Dr. Schovanec, President of Texas Tech University. It is 8:20. this morning, and with us in the studio is Dr. Lawrence Schovanec, president of Texas Tech, and we were going to talk about the high school tour, were we not?
Yeah, so this is something we actually started 5 years ago when I was interim, and we've done it every year since I've been the president, and we'll pick out a number of schools in the area, go visit them, speak to the juniors and seniors or the whole high school if they let us. That's important to us. So this year we had about 6,200 freshmen, and 12% came from within 100 miles of Lubbock. If you go out to 200, so then you capture Midland and Amarillo, it's only 20%. So I think it's really important that Texas Tech recruit the students in their backyard. And part of the message I'll be taking to them is talking about the very issues we were discussing before, cost and debt. But I also, one thing I always tell those students is when they pick a school, you need to look at the value you get, return on investment. And that's where Texas Tech shines. George Washington University last December issued the most extensive study yet of all universities in the United States. They looked at return on investment. So they looked at the cost of an education, what you earn 5, 10, 20, up to 40 years. And they ranked over 4,500 baccalaureate granting institutions, including professional schools. Tech came in 343. Now you think, well, 343, that'd get your football coach fired if he was ranked that low. In fact, there's not even that many schools. But we were second in the Big 12. UT was number 1, then Tech, then Iowa State, Oklahoma. We were 5th in the state of Texas among the publics, and they ranked 33 public institutions. That speaks to something we should be very proud of and something we need to convey to students, that you get a great value for Tech. And at the same time, I realize you made a very good point. Debt is a critical issue. It's something the chancellor has tried to make a system-wide initiative this year. So when we go back to the session, we can say to them, we're doing certain things to control costs. But it's always great to get out to those schools. What you find out is a lot of those, I remember when I was at the Tohoka last year, it was a year ago, I said, how many of you have been to Tech's campus? Very few. A lot of those students don't see Tech as a place for them. And they're thinking more community colleges or Amarillo College or West Texas A&M. But I want them to think that Tech is a real possibility. Here in Lubbock, a lot of students think they have to go far away to get an exotic experience. And you can have it just down the street. Because once you get on that campus, it's a whole different world.
I was going to say it's like a different world. And then on top of that, y'all have, if you really want an exotic experience, y'all have some great exchange student programs.
We do. And so you're absolutely right. People, once you get on that campus, if you don't want to see your parents, you're not going to see them if you're living in Lubbock, except when you take the laundry.
You need the money. Call mommy and daddy when you need the money.
So they won't be in your business, and you'll develop your own new networks. We do really have a great, I had office hours a week ago, and we have wonderful students who, you have to be careful about overreacting to some of these stories you hear that characterize them as snowflakes and such. We have great kids at Tech, and that's one of our best selling points, and they love that school.
Well, have you noticed that the student has changed a lot, though, in the years since you've been at Tech?
Oh, absolutely. Well, have they changed, or has it been more me? I'm getting old, and I see things differently. And I think we have to realize the world is not the way it was when we started, and be cognizant of that. But I still think we share certain core values, and that's one of the great things about Tech in West Texas.
Well, we have about a minute or so left. Basketball. How are we going to do in basketball this year?
Well,
what's your prognostication?
So I actually texted Coach Beard after the game, and I said, wow. I said, close games are overrated.
I agree. I hate close games when Texas Tech's playing. It's like
Well, what he wrote back, he said, yeah, I agree, and said, I don't even think I'm going to have my shirt cleaned after this game.
Was it you're talking about the TCU game, 88-42? Yeah. I mean, well, and here's the thing: they've got the defense to do that over and over again. And like Coach Beard was saying, they just have to hit on all cylinders every single game.
And we need to fill that place up for every game.
Let's do it. Okay, we're up against the clock. Always good to have you out here, Dr. Schovanec.
Thank you.
Things are going great at Texas Tech. I love it.